Few sports in England have been more popular than bear baiting. Other forms of amusement waned before its attractions. The sovereign, in the days of old, had as a member of his court a Bearward, as well as a Chancellor. In and about London, the sport was largely patronised, but it was by no means confined to the Metropolis. In all parts of the country, bear-baitings were held. Fitzstephen, a monk of Canterbury, who lived in the reign of Henry II, in his description of London, relates that in the forenoon of every holy day during the winter season, the youthful Londoners were amused with the baiting of bears and other animals. He says the bears were full grown. Edward III, in his proclamation, includes bear baiting amongst dishonest, trivial and useless games. The proclamation does not appear to have had any lasting effect on the public as regards bear baiting. The diversion increased in popularity. Southwark was a popular place for baiting animals and Sunday the usual day for the amusement. Stowe has several notes bearing on this theme. In respect to charges to witness the sport, he tells us those who go to the Paris Garden, the Belle Sauvage, the theatre, to behold bear baiting, interludes or fence play must not reckon on. Any pleasant spectacle, unless they first pay 1 penny at the gate, another at the entry of the scaffold, and a third for quiet standing. We learn from Stowe that at Southwark were 2 bear gardens, the old and the new, places wherein were kept bears, bulls, and other beasts to be baited, as also mastiffs in their several kennels were there, nourished to bait them. These bears and other beasts were baited in plots of ground, scaffolded round for the beholders to stand safe. Stowe condemns the foulness of these rude sights and says the money idly thrown away upon them might have been given to the poor. In the reign of Henry VIII, Erasmus visited England, and he relates that many herds of bears were maintained at the court for the purpose of being baited. We are further told by him that the rich nobles had their Bearwards, and the royal establishment its master of the king's bears. When Princess Elizabeth was confined at Hatfield House, she was visited by her sister, Queen Mary. On the morning after her arrival, after Mass was over, a grand entertainment of bear baiting took place, much to their enjoyment. Elizabeth, as a princess, took a delight in this sport, and when she occupied the throne, she gave it her support. When the theatre, in the palmy days of Shakespeare and Burbage, was attracting a larger share of public patronage than the Bear Garden, she waxed indignant, and in 1591 an order was issued from the Privy Council forbidding plays to be performed on Thursdays because bear baiting and such pastimes had usually been practiced. The Lord Mayor followed the order with an injunction in which it was stated that in divers places the players are not to recite their plays to the great hurt and destruction of the game of bear baiting and such like pastimes, which are maintained for Her Majesty's pleasure. During the famous visit in 1575 of Queen Elizabeth to the Earl of Leicester at Kenilworth Castle, baiting 13 bears by ban-dogs, a small kind of mastiff, was one of the entertainments provided for the royal guest. History furnishes several instances of the Queen having animals baited for the diversion of ambassadors. On May 25, 1559, the French ambassadors dined with the Queen, and after dinner, bulls and bears were baited by English dogs. She and her guests stood looking at the pastime until 6 o'clock. Next day, the visitors went by water to the Paris Garden, where similar sports were held. In 1586, the Danish ambassadors were received at Greenwich by Her Majesty, and bull and bear baiting were part of the amusements provided. Towards the close of her reign, the Queen entertained another set of ambassadors with a bear bait at the cockpit near St. James's. Baiting animals appears to have been the chief form of amusement provided by the Queen for foreign visitors. Edmund Allin, founder of Dulwich College, was for a long time part owner of the bear gardens at Southwark. He had to purchase the patent office of Bearward, or Master of the King's Bears. Allin is reputed to have had a well-stocked garden. On one occasion, when Queen Elizabeth wanted a grand display of bear baiting, Sir John Dorrington, the chief master of Her Majesty's games of bulls and bears, applied and obtained animals from Allin. The public had to be protected from the dogs employed in this sport. From the Archives of Winchester, published 1856, a work compiled from the city records, we find it stated, by an ordinance of the 4th of August, in the 28th year of the reign of Elizabeth, bulldogs were prohibited roving throughout the city unmuzzled. James was a lover of hunting and other sports and gave his patronage to bear baiting. We learn from Nicholl's progresses and processions that the king commanded that a bear which had killed a child, which had negligently been left in the bear house of the tower, be baited to death upon a stage. The order was carried out in presence of a large gathering of spectators. In a letter written on July 12, 1623, by Mr. Chamberlain to Sir Dudley Carleton, the following passage occurs. The Spanish ambassador is much delighted in bear baiting. He was last week at Paris Garden, where they showed him all the pleasure they could, both with bull, bear and horse besides jackanapes, and then turned a white bear into the Thames, where the dogs baited him swimming, which was the best sport of all. A couplet concerning Congleton Church Bible being sold to purchase a bear to bait at the annual feast has made the town known in all parts of the country. The popular rhyme says, Congleton rare, sold the Bible to pay for a bear. The inhabitants make the best of the story and tell how just before the wakes their only bear died, and it was feared that they would be unable to obtain another to enjoy their popular sport. The Bearward was most diligent in collecting money to buy another animal, but after all his exertions he failed to obtain the required amount. He at last made application to the local authorities, and as they had a small sum in the town's box put aside for the purchase of a Bible for the chapel. It was lent, and it is presumed that the sum of 16 shillings was duly returned and the scriptures were obtained.